Hey guys, Goose here with NewBeeDrone. Today we're going to be doing a Goose build showing you how to go through and build a Leviathan FPV racing frame. I'm going to take you guys through a quick look of all the parts we're going to be using in this build. First, with motors, we're going to be using the DYS Storm Race Series. These are a 2550 kV motor, very nice motors. A Runcam Swift V1 FPV camera, a TBS Unify Pro 5V VTX, TBS Triumph Stubby FPV antenna, FR Sky XSR receiver, DYS XSD 30A ESCs, and a DYS F4 Pro all-in-one flight controller. So here I've got all the parts laid out for the Leviathan kit. The body is going to come pre-assembled like this, so we're going to set this to the side. And here we're going to have the 4 legs and then the top and bottom plates. First, you're going to want to go ahead and put your battery pad on the bottom of the bottom plate. I've already done this, so it's just going to sit on there like that. Put that down. Next, you'll want to grab your top plate that has all the press nuts already pressed into it like that. That's just going to sit on the top of the plate like this with the press nuts facing up. I'm going to start with the front left arm first. I'm going to place that down like that. Make sure to line up the holes with it. Go ahead and put the top plate over that. And then I will grab one of the smaller screws in the sets. Take your screw, fit it down into the hole to get it to line up. After you fill it in there, you can grab your hex tool and then just screw it in. Now you don't want it too tight, just get it a little snug so that it holds it in place. And then we can do the same to the bottom hole that has the press nut through it. So I'll grab another one of my short bolts. Screw that in. Okay, now I'm just going to do the same for all the other sides. Next, you're going to want to grab the DYS flight controller. As you can see on the bottom of it, it's got these pins right here, which are used if you're using a DYS 4-in-1 ESC stack. We're not, and if we leave these on, these will hit the bottom of the frame. So we're going to actually tape a pair of dikes and clip those off. Now make sure you kind of go down the middle of them. Don't do them all together at once because you don't want them to push together and push into each other and then bind or bridge together and then short stuff out. You'd have a bad day. When you're done, yours should look something like this with everything nicely clipped down and nothing touching each other. Your DYS FC is going to come with some rubber grommets that we're going to put in all 4 corners, so go ahead and install those. After you've got all the grommets installed on the FC, go ahead and grab 4 of the plastic standoffs, 4 of the plastic screws, and then 4 of the longer bolts for mounting this FC onto the frame. So we're going to take the longer bolts, push it through the frame, then we're going to take a standoff and just screw it on like so. And then you'll do that to all 3 other sides. Now take your FC, set it on top of the standoffs, grab a plastic screw, and go ahead and push that in on one corner. Go ahead, screw that in, and then just do the same for all the other corners. Now we're going to go ahead and pre-tin all the pads we're going to be using. Grab my iron and solder and just start pre-tinning. I've got the DYS board layout right here with all the wiring points. I'm going to go ahead and solder all the ones that we need for camera, VTX, smart audio, receiver, all that stuff, and we'll go over it as we're putting each component on. Now we've got all the soldering points done, ready to go, and now we can start installing the motors and ESCs. Go ahead and grab one of your motors, and we're going to go ahead and install this on the end of the arm. Throw it under like that. Grab one of the bolts that came with your motors, push it through the hole, get it to line up on the motor. Go ahead and just start it. Okay. Make sure your motor's lined up where you want the wires coming out in the middle. Put it back again. Put another motor in the opposite side. Get that one started. Grab our hex tool. Tighten up. Just make it snug for now. You don't have to tighten it all the way. Go ahead and grab your DYS 30 amp ESC. How I like to do this is because it's already heat shrinked, we don't need to add any more. So what we're going to do is put it down here, and we're going to line up these solder joints right here, right with this line in the frame. So I'm going to line it up just about right there is where we're going to stop it. And then this is the length we're going to cut all the motor wires at. Once you got one cut, you can go ahead and just cut the others to the same length. And now I'm going to go ahead and strip all these wires. You can use an automatic stripper, although I like to use a manual stripper better. Okay, once those are all stripped, we're going to grab our soldering iron again, and we're going to pre-tin the ends of all these wires. Go ahead and grab your ESC, and I'm going to pre-tin the tabs on the ESC as well before we attach the motor. I'm going to take my tweezers right here and hold the wire right where I want it. Place my iron right on the top. Set it down. And one's done, and just do the same to the others. 2. And 3. So we got those all done. Those are ready to go. Now we're going to hook up the ESC to the actual FC. So let's take our top part of the frame real quick just for reference. It's going to sit like this. I'll give you guys a side view. It's going to sit like this, so you'll see you have a kind of very small clearance for the wires to go through. So we'll just, keep in mind that your power and ground are going to go through there. So, keep that in mind with how short and stuff you cut them. You'll see as we build this. So I'm going to set that guy aside. And now, keeping that in mind, I know that I got to go through there and then run up just kind of bent like that. Take your power ESC wire and kind of run it right there to the edge, and then bend it up right to there. And we're going to go ahead and give it a nice little cut. Just right there. Okay. Go ahead and strip that. Okay, I'm going to pre-tin that one as well. Okay. I'm going to take this guy. Take him and solder him directly onto the power side. Okay, that's good like that. Give that a second to cool off. And then what you can do is you can just bend the wire down like that. So we'll have a nice, neat wire tuck going on in there. And then just for reference, I'm going to put the top of the canopy on like that. And you'll see it's got the perfect amount of clearance to get through, and we'll have just enough room to run the other wires through as well. Take your ground wire, again, push it up here like you're measuring for it to go like this. Okay, now I will cut it right there. Okay, cut. Go ahead and strip this guy. Again, we're going to pre-tin it. Okay. Take my tweezers. I'm going to solder it on. Okay. Go ahead and push this guy down. And now we got our power and ground on there perfectly. Again, let's check the clearance. Clearance is good. And now we have our signal and ground. So I'm going to measure this one out, and this one's just going to go right here. So I don't need a lot of clearance for this one. Now we're going to solder on our ground and signal cable. This one doesn't need a lot of clearance because it's so small. So I'm going to line it up just like this. Okay. And I'm going to make a cut right here. Bam. Undo those guys a little bit. Strip this one. Strip that one. You don't need a lot of cable showing. Technically, you don't even need to do the ground one, but we're going to do it anyway since the flight controller has it. I'm going to, of course, tin those again real quick, very quickly, because these are small wires. Done. Done. You want to be careful not to do that too long because you will melt the silicone. Now I'll take our ground and solder him down first. Done. And the same thing with our signal cable. Done. So now we have one motor and ESC successfully soldered onto the flight controller. I'm going to go ahead and do the other three now. Next, we're going to grab our receiver and start wiring this up. So again, this is the XSR. I'm going to grab our wire harness cable and also the manual just so we understand the pin out real quick. On the top, you can see we've got ground, 5-volt, smart port, CPPM, and S-bus. So we're going to use everything except CPPM, so I'm going to go ahead and take that wire out. We can see that the CPPM is going to be the green cable, so that's the one we want to remove. So I'll just unplug this again. And what I'll do is I'll pull up on the little tab for the green one. I'll go ahead and pull that out. It just pulls out like that. And the rest we're going to keep because we got ground, 5-volt, S-port, and of course S-bus. So I'm going to twist that together just to give it some more strength. Okay, I'm going to plug this guy back in. All right. Now go ahead and grab the top part of the frame. We're going to be opening this up so we can put the receiver in on the side. So I'll grab my hex tool and just take this guy apart real quick. All you got to do is take these side bolts out on one side. Take this off like that. All right, now we got access to the inside. So what I'm going to do is put the receiver on the top since that will mean it's closest to the antenna holes. So what I like to do first is I'll take out this top or this little plate that we mount the stuff on. I will run the antennas into the pre-made holes. Make sure you get them coming out the top. And then what I'm going to do is pivot this back like this so that it will be sitting flat and the harness is coming down towards the flight controller. And what I'm going to do is get a little double-sided tape and use that to stick to this mounting plate. So I will just get a little strip of it. Okay, I'm going to put that actually on the bottom of the receiver, like so. Okay, once that's on, I'll go ahead and peel off the other side of the tape. Plate's going to go in sideways like that, so I will just take this and try and mount it right in the middle. Okay, that's in like that. I'm going to go ahead and stuff this back in. And now we got the receiver mounted in there nicely like that, with the harness coming out, getting ready to go in. Now the next step we're going to do is start worrying about the VTX. So what I'm going to do is take the VTX in the harness, and I'm going to plug in the harness first. But first I'm going to get rid of this little sticker that TBS likes to throw on here. Just take that off. There we go. And we're going to get the small side to plug in there, just like so. And the Unify actually comes with a double-sided tape, so we don't even need to use any of our own. So I'm going to peel this off, stick this on the bottom of the Unify. Just like so. Okay, and let's just mock up how we're going to mount it real quick. We could go like this, come around, no. Let's see. We could do it like this and have the harness come back down around. Yeah, let's do it like that. So we'll have it mounted like that. The antenna cable will come back out, and then the harness will just come forward like that. So I'm going to go ahead, take the double-sided tape off now. I'll mount it on the bottom, like so. Give that a nice firm press. Take the antenna, put it around the harness. We're going to give it a bend right here in the cable. Make sure you hold the bottom connector of the antenna so it doesn't pop off. Give it a nice bend there so it's not fighting when you connect it. Push it up like that. And then we're going to bring this up close. And I will run the cable right past the antenna lines. And what you're going to want to do is take this SMA connector and run it through this hole right here that we provided in the top of the canopy. And that's going to hold it really securely. So just push it through. You'll get it like that. So it'll be sticking out nicely like that. And then we can also put some plastic screws in there. That's not required, although we do recommend it. So I'll just turn this guy around, pop the mounting plate back down. He's good to go. And that will all sit nice like that. And we've got our harness coming out right here to be able to plug in. Now let's grab our FPV camera and get this installed. This comes pre-installed where it has a back plate that has these extra little mounting brackets on it. We don't want that because we're going to use the stock ones that our frame specifically works with. So it also comes with this other back plate that doesn't have those. So we're going to swap these out really quick. Now once we've got the correct back plate on, your camera will also have come with a little bag of hardware. We're going to open that up so we can get some bolts to attach it into the frame. And grab the harness while you're at it, kind of unravel it, and then I'll give it a quick twist. And we'll cut it, you know, this is too much still, but for now that's long enough just for fitting it in there. And we'll plug that in, just like so. So we've got our power, ground, and video. Take your camera and just insert it into there. Make sure you've got the little edges that stick out on the edge of the camera on both sides, and now we're going to put a couple bolts in there. So find the ones in your bag that fit. These ones look like they're going to be good. Okay, now I'll do the other side. Okay, that looks good. Then you can kind of adjust the angle of your camera, and when you want to tighten that later, you'll just tighten the screws. That's fine for now. So now we're ready to kind of put this guy back together. So I'm going to pop that plate back inside. Okay, all our cables are coming down. Grab the side plate again, and now we can kind of put this back together. Make sure the back little plate for the receiver goes into the mounting hole right there. And now we can put all our bolts back in. Okay, make sure all that's popped in place correctly. That looks pretty good. Now I'll throw a screw in back here too. This is an extra screw that came with the flight controller. I think these will work okay. Okay, that's good enough for now. You can add a second one if you like, but one is enough. So the first thing we'll wire up is the camera. Now when we're wiring this up, we want to make sure to leave enough slack so that when we take this off to do maintenance stuff, it doesn't just rip off right away. There's a little give and stuff, so we have room to unplug everything. So I'm going to set it right here, so that way when I pull it off, I can still get to about right here. So about right here is the length I'll need, and the camera connections are right there. So I'm going to say about there is long enough. So I'll go ahead and cut these right here. Okay, leave those. Now we're going to do the same thing with the receiver. I'm going to put it on there. The receiver is going to connect over here. So cut that one. That one will be closer to the edge. So cut that one like that. And now for the rest of it. Measure out for the VTX. Be about there, so we'll cut it there. Okay. And then we can measure out our receiver, which is going to be right over here, so we can do like about like there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and strip and tin everything real quick. Now we've got that all cut and pre-tinned, so I'm going to grab our manual again, which has the layout of all the flight controller. Set it right here, and we'll start going over what everything is and where you need to hook up everything. Take this guy, and first we will hook up the camera. Okay, so on the diagram, our camera is going to be on this right side row of pins. From the top to the bottom, we're going to first have ground. Then we're going to have our 5 volts to power the camera. Then we'll have our video input from the camera. And that's all we'll need for hooking up the camera. So let's go ahead and do that. So first will be our ground. And I will get that ready. Okay, so that's connected now. Next one down is going to be our 5 volts. Grab the 5 volt one. I'm also going to cut that one a little bit too. Okay. Grab the 5 volt. Okay, and then the next one down will be video. Again, I'm going to trim that one just a little too. Okay. Okay, so we got the camera hooked up perfectly now. The next one is going to be the video receiver. So we're using our unifier right here. Again, from top to bottom, we're going to have ground, 5 volts, and in this case, video out. And then we have a white cable right here, which is going to be our smart audio. And what that will let us do is use the OSD to control the VTX. So you can change the VTX channel, the VTX band, and the VTX power from your goggles using the OSD. So that one is going to hook up to this bottom one on the right, which is going to be a TX6 port. First is going to be our ground. Ground's in, then our voltage. I'm going to actually go ahead and trim that one also. Okay. Then our video out. That one can also be trimmed just a little. That one's good. And then this last one down here is going to be our smart audio. I'll also trim that guy just a little too. That guy's on there as well. So on this side, on the top, we've got ground. Then we've got our 5 volts. Then down here we've got S-Bus. And then we've got a TX3 port. Now what we're going to be using for the TX3 is the smart port. And what the smart port is going to do is give us telemetry from the receiver. Okay, then we will get our 5 volts. Then down here we are going to have our smart port. And then last, take our S-Bus and hook that one up. After we've got everything all wired up, now we can go ahead and solder on our XT60 connector for the battery. What I'm going to do is take the connectors and just slide them through the back of this right here, because they're going to go through there when they attach right here to the power leads. Take your ground wire now and go ahead and solder it to the ground lead on the FC. After you got those soldered on, go ahead and pull the top of the frame back down carefully. And now we're going to screw this on. Pull your frame up to the side, and now we're just going to make sure none of these cables are getting caught when we put this down. So I'm going to make sure that's sitting flush on one side. Okay. Now while that's down on one side, I'm going to go ahead and put the long bolts in there and start securing it down. And then the last one, of course. Next, we're gonna put our antenna tubes on. Your kit will come with one long one. I've cut mine into 2 small pieces so they will slide right over the receiver antennas. If you want, you can also put glue in this little hole right here, but it's not necessary. And then do the same to the other side. And the last step is we'll screw on our VTX antenna. I like to keep this bent a little bit so that when it's up flying like this, the VTX is kind of horizontal, and you always want it that way so that you get the best video reception. Alright guys, there you have it. We have a completed Leviathan build now. The only things that's left to do is throw in a battery strap on there, throw in your props on there, and then setting it up in beta flight. If you guys have any questions about this build, please remember to leave them in the video comments below. If you guys are interested in any of the parts in this build, I'll have a link in the video description below. If you guys enjoyed this build and it helped you out, please leave a thumb up and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.